we can comfortably say that everyone in this room has at one point experienced being abused, generalized, one of these things, stereotyped, being put down, bullied, and we all can relate in how terrible that feels and how problematic it can be and how it can be very disruptive, especially in the workplace, and that's what we're going to talk about. Millions of workers experience these sorts of things while they're at their jobs, doing what they need to be doing, and especially people in hourly wage positions who are seen as more lowly or below the customer. The customer is often dehumanizing workers, and the worker isn't really trained to be empowered to act against that and prevent those sorts of situations. And they're left feeling small because the customer is always right, as people say. One study found that 44.4% of a 6,000 employee pool of people who reported being abused while on the job. That comes from the Shop Distributive and Allied Employees Association. This issue should concern many of us because we're college students, and I'm sure a lot of us have jobs, hourly wage positions, and we're going into the workforce, and we're going to have to work our way up, and we don't want to be dealing with disrespectful people. I'm Max.
I'm Allie.
I'm Will.
And all three of us have seen this sort of mistreatment firsthand with the jobs we've done in the past. I'm sure you have some sort of idea of what it can be like. I'm sure you've had jobs. Then you should be on our side and realize that there is a problem and that it needs to be fixed. There needs to be some sort of change. And the change that we want to introduce, obviously, is making the workplace a more comfortable, safe, and effective environment that's conducive to everyone's goals. There's no reason that people should be disrespectful. Everyone's there trying to get something out of it. So today, we'll look at the problem, number one, which is worker mistreatment and where it stems from exactly. Allie will be talking about that. Namely, the idea of the sovereign customer who is always right. Secondly, we'll propose a solution which is empowering the worker and teaching them skills that will allow them to deal with these sorts of situations. And then lastly, we'll envision how exactly a workplace free of abuse will look and why it's beneficial to all, and realize that it's not that far away. It's pretty easy to attain. So here's Allie.
Right, so customer abuse is pretty standard in the workplace. It should probably come as a job hazard. There's a theory that's called the sovereign customer. And that is where we place the customer at the top of the rankings, and we as employees have to strive to reach them at the top. But when this sovereign customer theory breaks down, that's when the abuse arises. So Mark Korzinski and Claire Evans stated that customer abuse is a social construct. This idea of the sovereign customer creates an enchantment for the customer, and when that enchantment turns to disillusionment, the customer gets angry and then mistreatment happens. The management team for companies also play into the sovereign customer by treating the customer as king, and they will do anything to keep that customer at the top. The employees will also play into the sovereign customer by using language such as sir or madam to appoint the customer as a point of authority. When the sovereignty breaks down, customers will try and regain control, and abuse can sometimes turn to drastic measures. This power slip will cause them to throw things, call names, yell, and even use physical violence. It's the point where the sovereignty breaks down that the employee needs to draw a line and say this needs to stop. And it can also be said that with this theory, the sovereignty creates conditions for customer abuse. With bringing up the customer, there can also be a drastic downfall, and this drastic downfall can happen on the turn of a dime. This threat is ever present, and it can also happen very quickly, and with this, the employee needs to lead the customer through a different path to regain the sovereignty. But the sovereignty is not the only explanation. Michael Lawless stated in a 2014 article that the social mores can also change the way that customers handle employees and situations. And he also stated that it doesn't account for internal factors like drugs or mental health, which can also affect the way that customers treat employees. Now, providing a solution for this can be a daunting task, but it's actually very simple. We propose that training employees will help them deal with these customers, and also just a simple helpful reminder to be nice to them can also help. In an article by Your Space, they suggested that customer service training will drastically reduce these instances. By the employees having these skills to deal with the customers, it can help them to stand up and feel and regain the empowerment that they deserve. By being able to take control of the situation, they know how to make the customer happy while still having control and being empowered. To thoroughly do this, we need to cover all the customer service training initiatives, and to do that, we need to know the different types of customers. So Cassie Rees in an article described 3 basic types of customers. There's the argumentative, the aggressive, and the by knowing the signs to treat the 3 different types, you can easily maneuver a situation into getting the customer to kind of bend at your will, so to say, so you don't encounter any more of these situations. It may seem really simple, but just being nicer to the employees can also have a drastic change. Following the golden rule seems like a stereotype, but it can help a lot. And to think of that, you need to think of the monkey sphere. So thinking of the employee as not just their job, but as an actual person can help a lot. So imagine a world where an employee loved their job and got treated with respect and understanding. That dream may seem like it's out of a utopian society, but it's not. Small things can actually make a difference, and in an article and a study done by Joseph Williams, he found that if a customer said words like please and thank you, and even asked how an employee's day was going, that the employee was going to be more willing to help them and to work through problems with them unless they were rude. And we also need to change the idolization of the customers. We need to break down the sovereignty for good and stop using words like the customer is always right, because the customer is not always right. To do this, we all have a power of influence, and we can either choose to be an active bystander or a passive bystander. If you, it can also work with a call to attention. So if you bring attention to this problem, it's more likely that people will stop doing it. This will create a better future for our kids, who will inevitably have to deal with customer mistreatment, and it will help influence others to do the same. Now I'll pass it off to Will, who will conclude us, and he'll restate our main points.
Now, after all the discussion and points that my group members made and brought up today, I hope you all can now agree that, or at least have some understanding that there is worker mistreatment in today's society and something needs to change that will help the workplace become a safer place that is more conducive to everyone's goals and helps workers to feel more confident in their jobs. Just to refresh, I'm going to go over the few main points that Allie went over today. We stated that the myth of customer sovereignty and that it leads to the abuse of the system, which leads customers to feel superior to the workers that they are dealing with, and leads to terms such as the customer is always right. This abuse leads to issues such as emotional, vocal, and sometimes physical abuse. To solve this problem, work needs to require more training at the beginning of employees' jobs that helps them learn how to deal with these customers and how they are treating employees and how to notice the signs that are going to be going on. To visualize a world where customers are treating workers with the respect that they deserve, it seems like a possibly daunting task, but it's actually very simple, as simple please and thank yous can help workers to feel more confident in their jobs and want to help you more. This also helps the workplace to feel more comfortable for everyone overall. In order to keep employees in our society, we need to employ these tactics in order to keep everybody happy, not just the employees, but also the customers, and sometimes even the people that are watching over how the workplace is functioning. And to ask you all this question before I'm done with all of this is, are you with us in treating employees better and helping them learn how to deal with these situations?